What's good, guys? Today, I want to talk to you about a victim mentality, also known as a victim mindset. Essentially, the victim mentality feeds into this process or an ideology that we grow to believe. And I find that people who have encountered childhood trauma, childhood abuse, people who spend a lot of time with family members who have this thought pattern, or if they've had some experiences in their life that have shaped those situations, they could develop this mentality, and there might be some of you that are feeling this way. And so I want to address this head on because in today's society, it seems like there's a lot of blaming and not enough accountability. Now, from what I understand about this victim mentality and this victim mindset, is that it kind of slowly creeps up on you. And as a result of it, as you progress through your aging, especially at a young age, you're a lot more susceptible to certain thoughts and patterns. And like I was saying, you could be around a family member that felt that way. Maybe you had a family member that said, the government doesn't do anything for us, we have to do it for ourselves. No matter what you want to do in your life, they just won't let it happen. You won't be able to achieve what you want to achieve because there'll always be somebody bigger than you that's going to put you down. I disagree with those statements wholeheartedly, and I'm going to give some reasons why. And I'm also going to give you guys the steps to equip you in acknowledging that we have this mentality, but that it doesn't have to define us as an individual. And so statements that people make with this mentality could be, life isn't fair, things always go wrong for me. Technically, a lot of whining, like if somebody was a 3-year-old child. I find that the majority of the people that hold this mentality, including myself, in the past, I'm still dealing with this, but I think that I'm really making progress, is that we automatically reject any form of responsibility for an event or action. And this just goes for the things that even if they weren't our fault, it was like somebody blamed us for something, or we still take it upon ourselves and say, well, that's not me, that's so-and-so. We automatically dissuade the responsibility to somebody else. And so there was a theory that I learned in psychology, actually, in high school that was really exciting for me. And I can't remember who the psychotherapist was. But essentially, we have an internal locus of control and we have an external locus of control. The internal locus of control believes that I shape my circumstances, I shape my events, I shape who I am and who I want to be. The external locus of control is wholly centered on the concept that you would see in folklore of Vikings or the Greek and Hellenic period, with the concept that everything is fated to be. Who you end up with, it's fated. When you die, it's fated. You don't really have a choice because something out there, a higher power, an infinite consciousness, is developing all this for you. You have no say in it. It's already predestined. Well, personally, in my beliefs, because I am a spiritual person, and I do believe in God, for me, I think that it's more, we have like 65, 70% predestined. I would aim 60% predestined and 40% free will, just based on what I've grown up with and my own personal opinions. But getting back to it, these people feel like the cards of life are stacked up against them, one by one by one. If it's not one thing, it's another. And it could be because of their upbringing or because they lost all their money. And some experience that I have with this is I grew up lower middle class in borderline poverty as a kid. And it wasn't until close to middle school that I actually got my first brand new shirt that I can recall from any department store or even like a Kohl's or a JCPenney's or a Macy's, because we didn't really have money like that, and we would go to thrift stores. I was excited to go to thrift stores. You know, I'd pick out like a cool graphic t-shirt, or I'd pick out the button-ups with eccentric designs on them. But it got to the point that, especially in my elementary school days, that I would wear shirts that weren't fitting anymore and that I outgrew, and I would continue to wear them until we could go to a Goodwill or another thrift store. I didn't get an allowance like most people. I don't know what most people's thoughts are actually on that. Um, but I kind of just did the chores. That was what was involved in being a child and living with my parents and having them take care of me. They provide the food and all this stuff, and I would clean. So all through elementary and middle school, I consistently had this concept that everything was out to get me. The deck was stacked against me. I'm fated to do this. I'm fated to live in this almost a poverty mindset. And it wasn't until 8th grade that I got my first job. I think I was 12 or 13 years old at the time. And I was a newspaper delivery boy. So I would get literally 10 cents for each newspaper I delivered, and there wasn't a lot of houses. So, you can do the math. If I'm doing that 6 times a day, 5, 6 times a day, I wasn't making a lot, and I was very disappointed. So over time, I decided to pick up 3 more routes. So I ended up doing 4 routes total here where I live, and eventually I needed to get some help from my brothers. But it taught me a few things. That was just the tip of the iceberg. That was the first job I ever had, and I was in there, rain or shine, blizzard, whatever, you name it. I was out delivering papers. It didn't matter because I wanted to hustle hard. I wanted to build something that I was proud of myself for, and I wanted to build something that essentially would give me these traits that I could take with me later on into life, no matter what the skill was. And so I developed character in each of my jobs. I've had many of them. I've had, I think, 19 jobs to date now, and the majority of them were all, I left because I found a better opportunity. But I learned how to manage. I learned customer service. I learned integrity. I mean, currently right now, I'm the office manager for a nutritional center, and we're really excited to help the community. But nothing comes without hard work. That's what I need you guys to realize. Getting back to this mindset, though, psychologically, it's a phase that we go through in adolescence, primarily through the ages of like 10 years old to 19 years old. You'll find a lot of high schoolers especially have this lack of accountability, and they think that they just deserve things rather than earning them. But on top of that, they think that they're owed things, and when they don't get their way, they claim that, again, they're a victim and that life's unfair. So I find, especially with people who have certain minority backgrounds, lower socioeconomic classes, trauma victims, as I was saying, those who lack discipline, especially in early childhood, because of the lack of discipline, they weren't able to find that the internal locus of control that would tune them and guide them and show them where they needed to go in life in order to not feel a victim, but rather as somebody who is on top, to develop a winner's mindset. So with that being said, I have 5 tips for you guys, and I hope they change your life. I sincerely hope they change your life like they have been changing mine and continue to change mine. Starting off with number 1. Every man should accept responsibility and not blame others. This is what separates the men from the boys. My channel is not for children. My channel is not for little boys. My channel is for men who want to become men. Maybe they want to lead families. Maybe they want to be the next CEO of a Fortune 500 company. You have goals, you have dreams, and you have visions. Let's achieve them. Number 2 is to reflect or pray on your circumstance. Now, me personally praying, I've developed a perspective of this world that I wouldn't have any other way. Sure, I could have it shaped by experiences, but I find that praying and meditating on those, it really gives me a revelation. I also would look into the Greek school of thought called Stoicism, and that has helped me incredibly with a lot of issues that I've had from unresolved trauma as a child. But you have to realize that there will always be someone that has it worse than you. So we have to quit the comparisons. We have to quit saying this person has this, and so this is why X happens. I think Kanye West said it best, actually, in he said that no matter what, someone will always be prettier. Someone will always be smarter. Someone will always be younger, but they will never be you. Think about that for a second. They will never be you. No matter how much you attribute yourself to other individuals, they will never be you. They will never have the experiences that you had growing up. They will never have the character traits that you had and have gained through life. They're just different circumstances. And this applies to our finances. This applies to our relationships. This applies to our health. It literally is all about perspective. I am 100% sure that if everybody in this world had some form of perspective, the world would be a better place. But again, it's the lack of accountability. We're so worried about what other people are doing that it just doesn't matter. So I want you to rewire your brain, achieve a mentality of action, and conquer your fears. Winners thrive on inequality. When the decks are stacked against us, make them work for it. Take action. I want you to write down right now what you can do to change your circumstances. And realize that your past circumstances do not define today or your future. Your past does not define you. I will say that again. Your past does not define you. We're all different people, hopefully, than we were 5 years ago. I know I am. So with those tips that I just gave you guys, stay frosty.